I had always loved the forest, the towering pines, the smell of fresh earth, the way the moonlight filtered through the branches like some ancient silver spell. That's why I jumped at the opportunity to become a park ranger in Pine Hollow National Park. It seemed like the perfect job: solitude, nature, and a good paycheck. But after a few months on the job, I realized Pine Hollow wasn't like other forests. And soon, I found out why the locals refused to visit the damn place after dark. It started small: strange noises, twigs snapping just out of view, and the feeling that something was watching me as I made my rounds. It was easy to dismiss at first. Parks are full of wildlife, and I'd been told that mountain lions roamed the area. But this felt different. This was something far worse than a predator. The first real sign came during a quiet evening in mid-October, just as the chill was starting to settle into the air. I was sitting in the ranger station, finishing paperwork, when the radio crackled to life. North Ridge Trail. Unexplained movement reported. "Could be a trespasser," the dispatcher said. I grabbed my flashlight and headed out. As I walked deeper into the woods, the usual night sounds, crickets, owls, rustling leaves, seemed to vanish. The quiet was suffocating. When I reached the trail, everything felt wrong. There was a scent in the air, faint but familiar. It reminded me of something decaying, something long dead. My stomach churned, but I pressed on. As I moved along the trail, I began hearing soft whispers. At first, I thought it was the wind slipping through the branches, but the more I listened, the more distinct they became. They were voices, faint, almost like they were calling from a great distance. "Help, please." I froze, my heart pounding in my chest. I scanned the area with my flashlight, but saw nothing out of the ordinary. Then, just ahead, I noticed something. A faint glow coming from a cluster of trees off the path. Slowly, cautiously, I approached. What I found made my blood run cold. In the middle of the clearing stood an old, twisted tree. Its bark was blackened and gnarled, its branches unnaturally twisted toward the sky. But it wasn't the tree that terrified me. It was what hung from it. Rows of small, hand-carved dolls dangled from the branches, each tied with rough twine. Their eyes were hollow, their faces contorted in agony. They swayed in the breeze, and as they did, the whispers grew louder. "They see you." I stumbled back, panic rising in my throat. I had to get out of there. But just as I turned to leave, I saw something move out of the corner of my eye. At the edge of the clearing, barely visible in the shadows, stood a figure. It was tall and thin, its body unnaturally long and twisted. Its face was obscured by the darkness, but I could feel its gaze on me, cold and predatory. I ran. I didn't care where, as long as I got away from that thing. My boots pounded against the earth as I tore through the underbrush, the trees blurring past me. But no matter how fast I ran, the forest seemed to close in around me. The path I knew so well had twisted and changed, leading me deeper into the woods. The whispers followed me. "Turn back. They won't let you leave." I tripped over a root and crashed to the ground. The wind knocked from my lungs. I lay there for a moment, dazed, before pushing myself up on trembling arms. That's when I heard it. The sound of footsteps crunching through the leaves. Slowly, I turned my head. It was the figure from the clearing, but now I could see it clearly. Its skin was a pale, sickly white stretched tight over its bones. Its eyes were sunken, black pits, and its mouth, it was wide, too wide, stretching into a twisted grin. "You shouldn't have come here," it rasped. I scrambled to my feet, my hands shaking as I grabbed my flashlight. The beam flickered, then went out, plunging me into darkness. I could feel it getting closer, its breath hot against the back of my neck. But then, in the distance, I saw a light, the ranger station. I bolted toward it, not daring to look back. I could hear it behind me, its ragged breathing growing louder, but the light was so close now. If I could just make it inside. I crashed through the door of the station, slamming it shut behind me. My chest heaved as I pressed my back against the wood, half expecting the thing to break it down. But it didn't. The whispers faded, and for the first time that night, I felt safe until I turned around. The inside of the station had changed. The walls were covered in strange symbols carved deep into the wood, and on the floor, arranged in a perfect circle, were more of those dolls, the ones from the tree. They stared up at me with their hollow eyes, and in the center of the circle stood a figure. It was me. I don't know how to describe the feeling that washed over me at that moment, like reality itself had torn apart. The figure looked exactly like me, down to the uniform and the dirt on my boots. But it was smiling, its mouth slowly stretching into the same grotesque grin I had seen in the woods. "They see everything," it whispered. I ran out of the station into the night and kept running until I reached my truck. I drove out of Pine Hollow and never looked back. I quit the next day, left everything behind, and moved as far away as I could. But sometimes, late at night, when the wind blows just right, I swear I can still hear the whispers. And I know deep down that whatever is out there in Pine Hollow is still watching. It always will be.